Broadcasting off of a 5G cell tower from the abandoned Long John Silver's behind the abandoned Pizza Hut on Center Avenue in Bay City, Michigan. It's Everything, Anything, and Nothing Really with your hosts Eric Walensky and Matthew Maynard. Hey folks, how are you doing tonight? My name's Eric.
My name is Matt.
And good evening to you, Matt.
Hey, Eric.
How you doing?
I'm quite perplexed.
Oh, yeah? About what? I got one guess, but...
What's your guess?
The pandemic?
Sort of.
It's perplexing to everybody. It's getting a little nutty.
You know, sometimes I go to the state of Michigan's website. They have health information and updates on numbers and whatever. The other day I was on there and I noticed something very strange. In the corner of the screen, there was a little box that said, "Got a question? Chat with Robin." And it had a little icon of a robin, the bird.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, well, you know, is this like about anything bird related, anything robin related? You know, I mean, is it going to be fun facts about our state bird or what, you know?
So now all of a sudden the pandemic is a side subject and you want to know more about robins.
Right. So I click on it and then it has a disclaimer saying the information that you receive here is only for guidance and should not be taken to replace the consultation of a physician. And I'm thinking, who's going to birds for their medical advice?
Just to be clear, folks, the robin is not a licensed physician. He can prescribe meds. If you need something, he can get it for you. But
he'll pick it up off the ground and fly it to you.
But for everything else, you know, hey, don't let him operate on you. Number one, okay.
Does my HMO cover a robin's visit?
Did you ask it any questions?
I didn't have the heart to. I wanted so badly to be like, so what kind of worms do you like?
They must be getting that all day long. Whoever does the answering for the robin is like, oh, great. Another smart aleck.
And be like, you know, then try to get in the spirit of it, actually ask COVID-related questions and be like, so do robins have to worry about pandemics? Are you in a stay-at-nest order, or?
Exactly. Nests aren't very big. Is it hard to maintain a 6-foot distance?
I mean, are you going to get in trouble if somebody sees you out bobbing along, or?
No rockin' until May 30th.
Yeah, and then I got wondering, what do other states do? Because, you know, obviously they chose the robin because that's our state bird.
Sure.
But, I mean, if I go to Louisiana's state website, is it going to be, ask the brown pelican?
I'm not asking a brown pelican anything.
Or if you go to Maryland, is it going to be, got a question for the Baltimore Oriole? He's not playing baseball anymore, so you might as well ask him a question.
What position are the Baltimore Orioles in the American League East?
Anyway, that was just an interesting thing I found. Kind of perplexed me, but I guess a lot of things have changed now with the pandemic.
Yeah, a lot of things have changed, but then I'm kind of confused by some of the things that haven't changed. There was an article the other day. Scientists discover a new snake. Why are we still looking for snakes?
Now you're on the Cure COVID team and you're on the Look for Snakes team. Go.
Yeah, can't we redirect the snake-looking scientists? Can't we redirect them to finding a COVID vaccine? Yeah, that perplexed me. Why we're still looking for snakes in light of everything else going on. I mean, I guess the world still needs to carry on. I don't think we need more snakes, but I guess it's good that there's a team out there.
Well, it's not that there's more snakes. It's just we know one more snake than we did before.
Well, there's not more of them. They're just finding them.
The scientists didn't make more snakes, like put them in the Harry Potter machine and get a snake.
The world's worst scavenger hunt ever. There's 7 more snakes out there. Find them. What? Put a team together. Yeah, but it's. I mean, I guess the world still needs to revolve. But I was on the internet the other day, and I was looking through a bunch of different articles about the pandemic and how things are going to progress through the summer. And as I'm clicking through each article, it's like COVID-19, stay-at-home order. I found an article that said only 4% of Wizard of Oz fans can pass this quiz. And I'm just thinking, who's making Wizard of Oz quizzes right now? Like, all the real serious journalists are out there researching the pandemic and the numbers and what's going to happen with the economy. And then Gary's over in the corner going, hey, I'm going to finish that Wizard of Oz quiz. But it's going to be tough, man. I ran the numbers. Only 4% of Wizard of Oz fans are going to pass this one. Good job, Gary.
Did you take it?
I did.
Oh, yeah? Did you pass?
I don't know what part of the percentile I fall into yet. I sent the results in. I'm supposed to find out in 2 to 3 weeks. And fingers crossed,
We could do this. We could do that for the podcast. We could be like, only 4% of Everything, Anything, and Nothing Really fans will know where the abandoned Long John Silver's is behind the abandoned Pizza Hut. And then people will be like, I know where that is. I'm taking that quiz.
Only 4% of fans know that Eric thinks the one-ways in Bay City are more exotic. I'm going to stand by that, too. They are way better here in Bay City.
Eric only moves to cities where they have exotic one-ways.
Well, I like what I like.
Yes. And, this situation has brought something that we all like.
Yeah.
Something we didn't know we even needed before. Weather cats.
Sounds like a early 80s Saturday morning cartoon.
It does, doesn't it? Weather cats. It was like a ripoff of Thundercats. It was
exactly.
they were sitting around thinking, Thundercats is a success. What else could we do? How about just in general plain weather? Weather cats. Yeah.
They look at the sky and tell if it's sunny. Weather cats.
Well, on this TV station in Evansville, Indiana, there was a meteorologist, Jeff Lyons, who was working from home, as a lot of people are now, and in the middle of his weather report, his cat walked into the frame. After the weather report, the news director contacted him and said, "Is that your cat? You should put her on the air." Lyons wasn't sure if it was a great idea. "But I did it," he said. "I held the cat up, and on it went from there."
On what went? Here's my cat. And you'll never believe what happened next.
He cradled his gray and white long-hair feline in both arms and introduced her to his viewers. Betty, that's the cat's name. Betty lazily looked at the camera and twitched her tail. A star was born.
I think that's how they discovered Marilyn Monroe, too.
Yeah. Lyons goes on to say, "I didn't think much of it, but then I got a text from my nephew. My God, you're trending on Reddit."
Reddit is just as bored as the rest of us. Hey, weather guy held up a cat. Tell everyone.
Betty is now so popular that she has her own Instagram page and is on the Channel 14 weather segment most nights with her own Betty the Weather Cat graphic.
What?
Yes, she is on screen, and he uses computer-animated graphics of Betty with an umbrella on her tail, meaning that rain is on the way, while sunny skies usually gets a paws up.
This is baffling to me. A weather guy holds up a cat and everybody goes nuts. Everybody's just been so starved for entertainment. They can't go to the movies. They can't go out and go bowling. There's no sports. And a weather guy holds up a cat and they're like, put it on Instagram.
I watched everything that's on Netflix. Maybe the weatherman will hold up a cat and I'll have something to watch.
A star is born. Let's do this. Put an umbrella on its tail. Paws up, Betty.
And then some of the feedback he got from people started writing in, I think she will need a raise soon. That one can of tuna is just not gonna cut it.
Greed. Corporate greed.
But, I mean, I guess they can't pay the cat. I guess cats get paid in more food. So...
Well, that's where the expression fat cat comes from.
I guess so. I guess cat obesity is a sign that you're doing well.
That cat is huge. Must be popular.
He must be on TV. Another person wrote, so long, Jeff. It has been great watching you over these past years. Betty has taken over. She is a perfect meteorologist.
Oh, boy. Let the puns begin.
Uh-huh.
It's raining cats and dogs, Betty. Wah, wah.
Jeff Lyons, though, realizes that he has to be careful with this. Quote, when the weather is threatening, you have to be serious. There was a time, Lyons said, when he wondered whether he should pursue a career as a stand-up comedian when he attended Indiana University in the 1980s.
Okay, Jeff, you made the right choice.
Can you imagine him doing stand-up comedy? The jokes weren't going well, and somebody said, is that your cat? I held it up, and the rest is history. But Jeff Lyons does sound like a fun guy. He's always been on the lookout for ways to liven up his nightly forecast. He's dressed as Benjamin Franklin on Halloween, and he's done live shots from the Goodyear blimp.
Yeah, because nothing's more livelier than somebody dressed up as Ben Franklin. He's darn lucky that he went into weather instead of comedy. If you ever doubted, like, man, I missed my... No, you didn't. You didn't miss. You went the right way, buddy.
So yeah, that's one of the things that's going on right now. Cat meteorologists.
Well, keeping on the news theme, the Weekly World News is still putting out its tabloid. Are you familiar with the Weekly World News, Matt?
I don't have a subscription anymore.
Anymore?
I've had to cut back. But you never know when it turns out that Queen Elizabeth might secretly be a man or something. So that's why I had to read that magazine from time to time.
Well, for those of you who don't know, the Weekly World News is a tabloid rag. It's right there at your local checkout counter, and they're still producing issues in these tough times. And I'm glad they are, because they have a very pandemic-centric article. It's how to tell if your neighbors are aliens. This is important news, Matt.
I like that this is considered essential.
Exactly. If you're like most folks, you're at home on quarantine right now, so you might be spending a lot of time peeking out your windows, watching your neighbors. And if so, here's a handy guide so that you can tell if your neighbors are aliens. Well, this is helpful.
Well, where was this a month ago?
Yeah, the article, though, I don't know. I'm not sure if this is how to tell if your neighbors are aliens or if it's just how to tell that you can see things. Because one tip is aliens often wear huge sunglasses to hide their eyes. Lots of people wear sunglasses, so unless we're talking like comically oversized Fozzie Bear sunglasses, I don't know how helpful that tip is.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of people do wear sunglasses, but there must be another way to narrow it down.
Well, There is. I'm glad you asked. Aliens have a hat problem.
Okay.
The problem is they're unable to wear hats due to large craniums. So, longtime Weekly World News readers have seen the pictures of the evil aliens they've posted, and they've got big heads. So, I guess if they're wearing large sunglasses and have big heads, they're aliens.
Well, that sounds scientific enough.
Oh, for sure. Aliens are obsessed with technology. They spend hours chatting on cell phones and sending emails. Well, that narrows it down, too.
Yeah, I don't know anybody like that.
How about this, Matt? Have you seen anybody mowing their lawn lately? Aliens make crop circles when they mow their lawn. We still don't know what these things mean, but if you see them trimming circles in the grass, they are aliens.
Well, that one could narrow it down, because I don't see a lot of people making circles in the grass. He's got a big head. He's got sunglasses. Turn him in. Yeah, where would we turn him into, Eric? Does it say what we should do if we figure out that they're aliens?
It says, call the local neighborhood watch. It continues, it says, unless the aliens are the neighborhood watch, then contact the authorities. First things first, Matt.
Okay.
Don't go rushing to the real authorities until you're sure that your neighborhood watch is the aliens that you're reporting. I guess my overall point is, Matt, somebody's still getting paid to write this stuff.
Yeah.
Even during the pandemic.
Somebody was considered an essential worker and had to write about whether or not your neighbors are aliens. That's good. Maybe I'll start subscribing again.
Hard-hitting reporting at
Yes.
its finest.
Well, I was reading a story about a guy who has customers that may have hat problems. I don't know if it's because of cranium issues or what, but the headline of the article is, Owasso Barber says shop will stay open, quote, until Jesus walks in or they'll arrest me.
Wow, he's really rushing this pandemic to its ultimate conclusion, huh?
And I'm thinking to myself, would Jesus come in there for a haircut?
Yeah, his long hair is kind of his thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I would, unless it's not fashionable now. I don't know. But he goes on to say, quote, I don't need the governor to be my mother. I have one. God bless her. She's gone now. I don't need another mother. I can make these adult decisions myself. Spoken like a guy whose dad just got married to a stepmom he hates. And is this how he makes all his decisions? If he gets pulled over by a police officer, is it, you're not my dad. I had a dad. He died a long time ago. Don't need another one. You can't tell me what to do. I'll go as fast as I want.
But that's the thing. If you read the article, his tenses change. He says, I don't need the governor to be my mother. I have one. God bless her. She's gone now. Now, depending on how you read that sentence, I have a mother. God bless her. She's gone now.
So you're thinking she died while he was saying this?
Exactly. He was right in the middle of this interview. His mom is sitting there smiling and nodding and like, you go, son, you go. I have a mother. And then she just keeled over and then he goes, oh, God bless her. She's gone now. Well, I don't need another mother. I can make these adult decisions myself.
Yeah. And there's a great description of his barber shop in here. It says, polka music plays inside the barber shop as he cuts hair. A, quote, Best Barber award from a local newspaper hangs on the shop's wall. Carl Manky, that's the barber, is also a writer. All 8 of his books are on display in the Barber Shop, novels with titles like Gone to Pot, The Adventures of Railcar Rogues, and his latest, Harson's Island Revenge.
This guy is 77 years old. He's been a barber his whole life, and he writes these adventure stories. The Adventures of Railcar Rogues. Now, too, just from that title, I can't tell if The Adventures of Railcar Rogues is like multiple people, or if that's the hero's name. Railcar Rogues.
Railcar Rogues is what they call me.
Harson's Island Revenge.
There's one I found. He's got a website where he's selling his books, and I found a description of one of these. It's called The Scourge of Captain CV. The Great Lakes' greatest pirate.
That just sounds icky. I don't know.
And this
The Scourge. That's like something I need to ask a Robin about, a medical condition. I've got this scourge. Can you take a look at this? You prescribe something for me? The Scourge of Captain CV.
And his description of it, it says, the novel is a Michigan story that takes place on the Great Lakes during the beginning of the 1900s. After the Age of Shame, all in caps, I guess that's a book title. I guess it's not just a period he went through for a while. After the Age of Shame, I wanted to write a story that would be a little lighter. I recalled a conversation I had a number of years ago with a grandfather. He lived up on the coast of Lake Michigan in the small village of Alberta. He was around 100 years old at the time. Making small talk with him, I asked him, Gramps, you've lived here most of your life. Do you ever remember anything like pirates on the Great Lakes? I really expected him to chide me about such a dumb question. Instead, his whole demeanor changed.
I set my grandpa up to give me a real zinger for being so dumb. Much to my surprise.
His slumped body suddenly went erect with a voice that was nearly in a shouting mode. Hell yes! I was the cabin boy for Captain Dan CV.
What?
To which I said, who in the heck is Captain Dan CV? Oh, and here again.
He was a scourge.
And here again, he uses present tense. He's a pirate on Lake Michigan. He said this in such a way that it must have been a common name among his generation. Then he added in almost an apologetic tone, I had to quit, though. I couldn't take the high seas.
The high seas?
Lake Michigan?
I mean, yeah, the Great Lakes can get pretty choppy, but I wouldn't describe them as the high seas. Boy, what a poetic way to describe his novel, you know? I was visiting my grandfather, and when I
He doesn't say it's his grandfather, he says a grandfather.
Oh. Because he just goes around nursing homes?
And I like that this is how he described the man, too, because it's like that was the man's entire identity.
I was talking to a grandfather, and when I mentioned the high seas of the Great Lakes, he became erect and nearly shouted, I know a pirate! That's when you call for the nurse, isn't it? He's shouting about pirates again!
So, yeah, I'm picturing the next question he asked the old man was, did you ever see Jesus come into a barber shop?
Oh, man. Yeah, getting back to that. So Manky is not supposed to be in operation. There's an order that says he's going to be shut down. but he's defiant that he'll be open until Jesus walks in or until they arrest me. What's going to happen when Jesus does walk in, though? Then he's going to close? Is Jesus working code enforcement in Michigan now?
Oh, gosh, I didn't know you'd be here. Boy, am I embarrassed.
I didn't hear the trumpets or anything. Is this about me cutting hair when I'm not supposed to?
I was thinking it was a pirate at first, but turned out it was the Lord.
I'm still getting into heaven, though, right? Is that, or is this a deal breaker? I don't know the rules exactly. Clearly, I don't listen to them.
And then finally a defiant, "You're not my dad."
You just took my mom during this interview. I feel like a pawn in between a bunch of politicians, Manky said. Well, that's the writer in him right there. You can look forward to more colorful turns of phrases in Harson's Island Revenge.
I feel like a rook in between two bishops. Waiting for Jesus to come in.
Available on Amazon.
So some businesses have been defiant in the face of restrictions. Others have found ways to operate creatively. Here's a story about an Oregon strip club that also serves food. Kind of like a gentleman's steak club, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Setting it up so that they have carry-out taken to your home by their dancers. And also a drive-through pole dance show for carry-out orders.
This is probably the best idea I've heard yet.
Yeah. They're calling it Food to Go-Go.
Oh, I like that. That's something straight out of a Manky novel.
Revenge of the Food to Go-Go on Harson's Island. I was talking to an old dancer grandmother one time, and I asked her, "Have you ever seen any pirates in a strip club?" I thought she'd chide me, but no, she said, "I saw a lot of pirates. The Scourge of Captain Dan McGogo." The owner says, "The response has been awesome." I can imagine. So the way it works, cars are directed into a large tent where they are greeted from stages on both sides by pole dancing women wearing sequined masks and gloves and little else from nipple pasties, G-string bikini bottoms, and stiletto boots. One dancer, who goes by the stage name Karma Jane, performed on Friday night in a gas mask.
Sexy. Yeah, because I've always wanted a little apocalypse in my strip club, you know? See, I think this is super interesting because initially they just retooled the kitchen to offer food for delivery, but receipts plummeted absent the club's usual main attractions of scantily clad dancers and a cash bar.
Mm-hmm.
You mean people weren't just going to this strip club for the food? Really? Oh, man. That shocks me.
Can you imagine being the cook, being like, "Oh, I feel terrible."
He's got to be so demoralized right now. I thought I was the one bringing them in. Man. Turns out it's the naked women.
Who knew Karma Jane and her gas mask were such a big draw?
This whole thing, though, is certainly giving a new meaning to the word strip steak, right?
And it goes on to quote one dancer by the name of Ellie Stranger, who goes on to say, "The novelty in these really dark, uncertain times is just enough to pick people up." I'm thinking, yeah, but not like a weather cat.
She also says, I miss the athleticism and the opportunity to make tips. The athleticism?
The athleticism. Olympics 2024.
Pasties and G-strings. Mandatory in all summer events. Remember the old beginning to ABC Sports? The thrill of victory, the agony of defeat, and the athleticism of the strip club. I like how she also puts the opportunity to make tips second, because she wants everybody to know that this is a real exercise for her, okay? You know, tips are secondary.
Right, she's not in it just for the money.
So if I ever go to this strip club and I get a dance from L Stranger, and she's like, oh, aren't you going to tip me? I'm going to be like, yeah, you're going to want to do an incline when you do those sit-ups, and you get a little bit more out of the workout.
For more tips, check out my website. And my book, Exercise on Harson's Island. Well, I think that's about as good a place as any to wrap up.
Yeah.
So remember, we are on Facebook. Like us on Facebook at Everything, Anything, and Nothing Really. We're on Podbean. We're on iTunes too, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
We are on iTunes, and we are also now on YouTube. So find us there as well and follow us. And be sure to tell your friends.
Yes, tell your friends. Tell your enemies.
Don't tell our enemies, though.
And tell Betty White. Give us the thumbs up, Betty.
And just don't tell barbers in Owasso.
No, we're trying to avoid those guys.
Just unless Jesus comes in.
So, for Everything, Anything, and Nothing Really, I'm Eric.
I'm Matt.
And we'll see you next week.
Gramps, you've lived here most of your life. Do you ever remember anything like pirates on the Great Lakes?
Hell yes! I was cabin boy for Captain Dan CV.